Hello, Internets. This is BoneCarlos coming to you live. I do believe this is from Daybreak. Is that right? Because Esnov is right next to me. Actually, not next to me. He's across the country, across the world. Say hello, sir.
Hello, hello, and yeah, we're not too far away here, but yeah, we got ourselves a TVZ on Daybreak, which on the especially on these two-player maps here, I can expect to see some kind of aggression, most likely from the Terran player, based on how this matchup normally plays out.
So both players here, we got NeoGeoRage spawning as the red Terran, northern part of the map. His opponent, Chipper, is quite chippy in the blue colorings of his race. He's going to go ahead and spawn in, of course, the southern portion of the map. Very easy to secure natural expansion by both players. Kind of a wide open area. Staging attack if you want to attack or defend. Easy to grab third. So I would say a very balanced overall map for any sort of matchup, and unless you get into late game, but then again, all that stuff gets thrown out the window. What do you expect to see out of both of these players? Keep in mind though that these guys are in gold.
Yeah, gold. Honestly, it's been quite a while since I played in either one of these leagues, so I've got like kind of like that high diamond mindset. But the Zerg player is definitely gonna throw down an expansion here. Watch him make me a liar, probably not, but we're definitely gonna see an expansion out of the Zerg player, and I'm predicting some kind of aggression from the Terran first before an expansion. At least that's generally how Terrans used to play back in my gold days.
In your gold days, back in the glory days of gold. Right now the barracks is just getting underway. Neo just pushing out with a scouting SCV now at around the 225 mark. So very interesting. Generally you see Terrans just hold back that SCV for a little bit longer, but he's going to go ahead and play a little bit of a difference, I would say. And the hatchery is down for Chipper, so no spawning pool just yet. Actually, he's getting ready to take it. He just takes it. No extractor. It looks like no extractor incoming. Actually, boom, he places it down. So Chipper, thanks for making me look like a jackass on my own cast.
Now, looks like there's two jackasses here then, because from what NeoGeoRage here is doing, hasn't grabbed a gas yet, so that's definitely going to be an expansion or some type of marine all-in.
Yeah, generally, well, on this map, I mean, the distance is so far that a marine all-in, could be fairly easily, it'll
You can
just...
proxy it.
Yeah, well, he could proxy it, that is true. But it doesn't look like it. An SCV is already going to go ahead and just like take a post over at the natural expansion, and with 400 minerals down, he can put down that command center as soon as he just chooses. A marine gonna go ahead and push away that overlord, and Chipper managed to save that overlord, so good for him. Expansion does go down by Neo Geo. Chipper's is just done, and it looks like Chipper's going to have enough for metabolic boost in a few seconds. So this is a very standard opening on both of these players, wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. I definitely agree. This is something that didn't really see back in the day, but it just goes to show you that just people are just generally getting better. As this game's been out longer, the Gold League of yesterday it was a lot worse than the golds that we have here today.
And I could attest to that. Right now I'm in platinum level, but I don't feel that I'm any worse than I was when I was in high diamond, and it does sting a little bit that I am in platinum, but that's okay. I love seeing the evolution of this game and just the overall skill level of players. And yeah, we already see wow, one Zergling does go down. That bunker is in a decent spot. That's generally where you want to put it, but there are still gaps in between that command center and that bunker. I would like for him for Chip or Neo Geo to put down a couple of supply depots just to block that off, so there isn't any chance of a surround.
Well, yeah, what people do generally on this map, you can kind of tuck that bunker right there off to the right side of that ramp up there, so there's very little surface area because it's surrounded on most of its side, and it'll still protect the command center for the most part. It's just generally it's people put it in that spot in case a Zerg decides, hey, I'm gonna make 8 lings out of nowhere, or 10 lings, or just something that could give the Marines trouble, or even even in that bunker, kind of that way they can't get us around on it, making them a lot less effective.
Yeah, and right now we see NeoGeo putting down a second bunker. I do believe that's just a little bit of an overkill, especially since he's scouted this his third expansion going down. Chip is going to go ahead and chase away this SCV, get himself a free kill. So I do believe that's just a little bit of too much protection by NeoGeo, since he knows that the third expansion is up and running. Both players are just playing off what they see off of each other. And already we see double gas in the main base for NeoGeo. Nothing yet on the expansion. So where can NeoGeo go from here? I mean, he can obviously go into standard MMM if he so chose. But if Chipper decides to go down with obviously putting down a Bane Nest, if he goes there, transitions into maybe Mutas or Infestors, that could spell quite a bit of trouble for the Terran player.
Indeed it could. Well, he's got 3 barracks right now naked, and he's throwing down a factory here, so he could go for like a tank marine push, or maybe eventually transition into biomech, or who knows, maybe he's just making the marines so he can go into full mech, which isn't quite as likely. But I myself am expecting double eBay. He's going to be going for some kind of tank push, I'm reckoning.
And yep, and right now there's actually going to be a small squad of Marines checking out on the northern part of the map. They're crossing the map at the moment, and they're going to go ahead and hit this third base. Right now, Chipper is supply blocked, but he has a couple of overlords on the way, and this actually spelled quite a bit of a trouble for Chipper if he's not careful. 23 Zerglings on the field, but there are 19 Marines there for NeoGeo, and there are plenty going in for that third base. The Zerglings have not been moved just yet. They finally do get moved. They're going to go ahead and try to get us around on these Marines, but will they be able to bring down this hatchery? No, the Zerglings are there. No stutter step micro by NeoGeo. Loses every single Marine, and very minimal losses for Chipper in that engagement. So basically NeoGeo just threw away all those Marines. I would like for him to just stutter step back, or maybe even put himself in an advantageous position to be able to keep from getting surrounded, maybe hiding behind the mineral line, or just pulling back after that initial push.
Yeah, there's a lot of things he could have done, to be honest. He could have took those Marines, put them behind the mineral lines, the old tried and true funnel your Zerglings in. He could have did that, or just even some stutter steps to minimize his losses would have helped out a lot here. But based on the level of play, I can't say I'm surprised. If you look, our Terran player NeoGeoRage at his natural here still haven't got those saturated just yet, and with the Zerg just now having a layer about 3/4 of the way done, he could have hit with did a drop, could hit with some banshees, some kind of tech with that double gas that he's had for a while now.
Yeah, and this just goes to show that, like you hit on the right on spot. It's the skill level. Obviously, you could get all of these build orders off the internet, copy them to perfection, but you still have to implement them. And that's where you start separating in between the leagues: the gold, plat, diamond, just the execution of the build order. But right now NeoGeo is behind in the supply count, 76 to 100, but he is putting up his third command center and putting down a couple of more barracks on top of these 3. So 3, 4, 5 barracks are going to be on the field for NeoGeo. 2 factories, both with Tech Lab, and a single starport. Now I gotta ask you this: as a Terran player, is this enough to be able to support off 2 bases?
Well, if he's getting just Marines, then yeah, you can, but you're really not going to be using that double factory as much. I mean, you'll be able to, but you're not going to be consistently pumping out of both at the same time the entire time through. Just because Marines are so cheap, you can. It's just not quite as well. Yeah, there we go. Good. He finally got those double gases in the natural going too. That's good.
So yep, double. So pretty much it has double gas, so quad gas going. He has his third command center. He's floating it around. Not sure exactly where he wants to place it down. Chipper does have a Zergling there at the third expansion, so he will be able to see it, spot it if it does happen. We see a drop howling down by NeoGeo. Is going to go ahead and attack that same base that he attacked earlier, but Chipper is there with his Zerglings. Gets a nice little surround. All the Marines get tore up very, very quickly. Finally, he lifts off, saves 3 of them, but loses quite a bit. He's going to go ahead and take him, put him back behind that mineral line, attack yet again, and Chipper is a little bit distracted right now, not a little bit slow on the uptick, but finally attacks that Marines. 2 more Marines come to join the party. They are going to chase away 1,800 Zerglings because there's another drop and the main base.
If that one gets cleaned up here, looks like NeoGeoRage is going to try to grab this center expansion as opposed to the one directly below him, which this is something I like to do. Being a mech player, I like to put my third base out here in the front. That way I can set up a couple siege tanks behind the mineral lines at this front third. It protects the pathway to where your third would normally be. that, and you can also secure this watchtower so you can see attacks coming before they actually happen.
So yeah, actually, nice little explanation on what he's trying to do there. Looking at the units lost, we see 17 workers killed in that drop. So any kind of advantage that Chipper had before those drops is just wiped away clean. He has massive amounts of saturation on his main base. He could actually stand to just transfer those over to the natural expansion, even to the third. But right now, it's just Mutalisk play. Zergling, so Mutaling, no Banelings on the field just yet, while NeoGeo is transferring almost all of his probes, or all of his SCVs into that third base, and this command center should be morphing into a planetary fortress immediately, because here come those Zerglings. They're going to go ahead and attack the third right away. Looks like the command center is morphing into an orbital command. I don't necessarily agree with that. And all of these Marines are more than likely going to fall to this. Zerglings, there are just too many there to be able to stop the vital Marines. But finally, the DPS of the Marines is just too much. A final stim does push them all out. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised about that myself, and this is actually pretty ballsy to throw this orbital command, especially in this front position. When I always like to grab a planetary as my third base, just because it makes you immune to Ling run-bys for the most part, and that way you don't have to, send units over there just to deal with a half dozen, 3/3 Zerglings in the late game or whatnot.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I'm not a Terran player, but even I know that this third should be a planetary fortress just to be able to defend like that. And right now it looks like Neo's just going to push out with a couple of Thors, so he's going to be pretty safe against any sort of Mutalisk attack. But Zerglings are going to go ahead and try to get themselves a surround. Finally, Banelings are on the field. Nice surround by those Zerglings. Banelings finally do bust up and destroy all of those Marines. Now it's just going to be Zergling versus Thor. Zerglings prevail, and a couple of Banelings are still there left alive. A squad of Marines are there on a move. They're not even on a move, they're just rallied there. They die almost instantly. Siege Tank is going to go ahead and do a couple of volleys on these Zerglings, get plenty of kills, but finally the Zerglings get into the Siege Tank, tear it to shreds. Banelings did bust on a couple of those Marines, but there wasn't enough to take them all down. The Zerglings are forced to retreat, and now there is a squad in the northern area for NeoGeo to do a counterattack, but not using it just yet.
Yeah, what he's really got to do right now, these Zerglings are just constantly overrunning him. He's got to mass up before he moves out, because otherwise, just a sheer amount of Zerglings are going to kill those high-tech units, regardless of, of their tech level. It doesn't matter when you've got that many Zerglings on you.
Yeah, definitely. And now that small squad in the northern area has been taken care of. They did manage to take down a queen, so 5 Marines for 1 queen, a little bit of an interesting trade-off. Both players do have a pretty much what the base count that you would expect at this state of the game, 3 bases to 4. The main base is practically mined out for Chipper. An infestation pit finally down, so pathogen glands are being researched. Hopefully we see some cool infestor play. Banelings are still being morphed in Zerglings there, so Zergling, Baneling, and infestor. And what I'm interested to note is that there are still 3-4 Mutalisks at the natural expansion of NeoGeo, but they aren't doing anything just yet. It seems that Chipper just forgot about that, and something that he would want to focus on his gameplay, to make sure that he realized where all the units are at. Siege tanks are caught out of position. Stutter Step Micro, very decent for a gold level player. He managed to save quite a few amounts of Marines, but all the siege tanks go down. The swarm is too strong. They're forced to retreat back to the safety of their own base. Single siege tank there is going to be there for defense. Banelings get into the Marines. Marines just obliterated. Zerglings take care of that siege tank, and finally it's mop up time for NeoGeo. But that was just a straight even trade if I ever saw one.
Yeah, I expected that to turn out a lot worse than it did, really. But and you're right, that Stutter Step Micro for a gold player is quite good. Where was that earlier? Was Mike?
He was just warming up and making sure his fingers weren't too atrophied from playing. But now Siege Tank Siege mode is up. Zerglings are going to go ahead and screen forward a couple of volleys from the Siege Tank. A scan does reveal where they're at, but there's just too many Zerglings there and not enough DPS. The Marines are going to go ahead and try to Stutter Step yet again, but the Zergling count is just too high. I don't see NeoGeo just prevailing up against these numbers at the moment. What does NeoGeo need to do to be able to stop this onslaught?
He needs to stop sending small chunks of units against 50 plus Ling plus Infestors. As we've seen, small squads poke out constantly. He just needs to sit back, macro up, which he's even ahead of the Zerg player in supply right now, currently 155 to 146. He just needs to slow down the tempo of the game a little bit, max out a little bit more, and push up on that fourth base. He's got that Zelnite Watchtower in the middle to give him some vision. He's got that middle open path to quickly reinforce. He just needs to mass up.
And right now it looks like he's splitting off his units again, going to drop again in the main base while sending a small squad into the northern area. He's going to go ahead and drop in the main base and then going to try to deny this fourth by Chipper. Stim forward, going to go ahead and try to focus down this Ultralisk Cavern, and that's actually a good play by NeoGeo, because if that Ultralisk Cavern is finished, Ultralisk on the field would pretty much be a death sentence for NeoGeo at the moment. He's going to go ahead and try to take out this Spire, morphing into a Greater Spire, but Zerglings are there. They're going to go ahead and deny it. Finally, the fourth base is under fire by NeoGeo. He's going to go ahead and get some free drone kills, and going to go ahead and cancel that fourth base yet again, but at the same time, he is taking his fourth base of his own. And right now, it looks like Chipper, I feel like Chipper could actually attack and take out this fourth if he decided to. I mean, he has plenty of Zerglings at the moment. He's building up. 56 more are on the way with a huge swell of Zerglings are going to go ahead and get into the siege line. No siege mode. Siege tanks get obliterated. Banelings into the SCVs. That's not what you want to do. Fungo grows on plenty of Marines, plenty of SCVs. Those SCVs are there. They're going to go ahead and get taken out very quickly alongside with those Marines. But what happened to all of those Zerglings?
Yeah, they got vaporized. And one thing I wanted to point out too, during all the action with that attack, NeoGeo managed to take out the Greater Spire. So our Zerg player has no true late game tech right now. The Ultralisk Cavern is just about to finish right now, but I'd much rather be facing Ultralisks myself personally, as in comparison to Broodlord Fester.
Broodlord Fester. What is that called? Win Fester with a Broodlord backup? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, that is. But honestly, as of late, that last patch they did with the Infestor I felt it was a noticeable help, because it made the Infestaterrans die so much quicker. That was a big problem for me.
For me as well. And it looks like NeoGeo managed to take the hatchery at the third base of Chipper to quite some health down. Only has 134, so another drop might be able to finish it off. But right now, both players are still at a standstill at the moment. It looks like NeoGeo is trying to retake his third base, resaturate it, get up those refineries up and going. But his fourth, aka third, is ready to go, and he's morphing it into a planetary fortress. These four Mutalisks are still at the top of the natural expansion. They finally managed to get up to 120 health, maxed out, and now Ultralisks, Zerglings, Infestors. Here it comes, another push at that third base. Zerglings are going to go ahead and stream forward, catch quite a few of that siege tank fire. Stutter step is going to happen by all of the units. Huge fungal growth on all of those Marines. They get cleaned up very quickly by the swipes of those Ultralisks. All the siege tanks are down. There is nothing now to defend against these Ultralisks, and this Orbital Command will go down. It is lifted, but it is burning, it is on fire, it is flying, and it will fall. Marines are there going to try to take down a couple of Ultralisks, but that is just the power of those Infestors is just too much. Forced a retreat. Looks like NeoGeo is separating out his siege tanks, trying to give himself plenty of advantage to keep them alive. The command center does fall, but at the same time, a fifth is up and running for NeoGeo. So another bit of a trade there, and that would not have happened if that orbital command was a planetary fortress. Would you agree on that?
Well, that attack would have been it definitely would have been as effective as it was if it was a planetary. Those Ultralisks are incredibly good at bringing down buildings, though, so I can't say that a planetary would have completely prevented that attack, but it would have made it much more difficult. Zerg players are a lot less apt to attack into a planetary fortress than they would an orbital command. I've won many a game where they attack my third or fourth base that's a planetary, and they're focused on that, and then I bring my army in, so they're trying to decide between, do I attack the 1500 HP 3 armored repairable planetary, or do I attack his army? can't really.
And
that's a
there you go.
lose.
Give your opponent too many choices, and it will fall. NeoGeo is going to drop in the main at the third and also at the fourth. The main drop does get cleaned up, but at the same time, there is still another push out by Chipper. Going to go ahead and clean up with the remnants of that third base, and now he's going to go ahead and attack the fourth. The planetary is there. I think just, there isn't enough there to back it up. The SCVs get there, do repair, but the Banelings are going to get into him, take them out very quickly. The planetary fortress falls, like you said, very quickly. The power of the Ultralis is just too high. Stutter Step is going to go ahead and save as much of those Marines as possible, but the swarm is just too high, and on top of that, the drops are still happening. The third base will fall. Zerglings are going to actually prevent that, but the attack on the main expansion of NeoGeo is still underway. So right now, I do give the advantage to Chipper. He still has those Ultralis there. He's going to go ahead and go into the heart of NeoGeo's base, but he's losing quite a bit. He lost a lot of drones in those drops, and now both players are around the same food. 98 Chipper, NeoGeo 88. Both players losing around the same amount of resources, around 28,000, give or take 1,000 points, 1,000 resources. Right now, who has the advantage at this point?
I'd honestly still have to go with the Zerg player just because of the fact that he has that nest egg of almost 2,400 minerals and 2,700 gas built up. But our Terran player here, he's macroing like a fiend. He's still got that. Well, I guess now technically it's his third base, even though it was his fourth up. Oh, I may have spoken too soon.
See what happens.
These Zerglings
Speak
running in
of
here.
Something, and it gets taken down. All those OP mules are going to get tore up. SCVs are fighting for their lives, trying to get back home. The lift does save this orbital command for the time being, but now that Chipper knows about this, it more than likely will be harassed continually. There is going to be a huge drop going on in the main base of NeoGeo. One medevac does split off to try to take off this fourth base. Another one does back it up as well. 3 in the main, 2 in the fourth. Looks like drones are being pulled off to attack this siege tank. It does manage to get into siege. More Marines are going to go ahead and push it off. There are Ultras there in the main base. Infestor is going to go ahead and walk to its doom. Not even a single fungal growth goes down. It does have enough energy. It goes down before they manage to pull it off. Siege tank gets plenty of shots off on all of these buildings. The Queen does go down. Zerglings are going to go ahead and clean up that attack in the main base, but at what cost, since the fourth base is down?
Yeah, and the thing I really liked about that, and I feel like he underutilized right there, is you notice that that siege tanks, that little siege tank and that little patch of units there that were attacking that, I guess that would be the fifth base, that siege tank was in range to give protection to the units that were in his main base, but he didn't have all of his tanks sieged up, so he could actually had those two multi-pronged drops protect each other had he had everything sieged.
Oh, that's actually a very nice point. Hopefully NeoGeo will listen to that. That's actually no, don't listen to it. Anything I can give to Terran players, I will take away. I do not want Terran players to succeed because I'm a Protoss player myself, but that's a-okay. Drops all around. Medevacs just floating around in Chipper's base, but without anything in them, they are essentially useless. And now NeoGeo is going to go ahead on home since all of his attacking units were mopped up in those drops. NeoGeo is essentially broke. 56 minerals. He doesn't have anything except this. Well, now technically third base. The income tab shows 14 harvesters to his name. Chipper definitely has the upper hand, and right now I think all Chipper needs to do is just stabilize, make sure to defend against those drops, put down a couple of spore colonies here, there, everywhere, and he'll be a-okay. But now Banelings are finally morphed in, and here come the huge Marine pack. 3-3 on those Marines, 3-3 on those Zergling Banelings. Sieged up, siege tanks do plenty of damage. Banelings are wasted on them, but there's still more in reserve. It looks like the Stutter Step Micro is trying to save as many Marines as possible, but the Banelings do finally get into it, take out a final squad, and I think this is it. I think this is GG for NeoGeo. He has 33 supply to compared to 109. He has, whoa, 8 harvesters left. He has nothing. What do you think?
Oh, there are your 4 Mutalisks right there trying to kill that command center. Just thought I'd point that out real briefly. And yeah, there's no coming back from this. Back when I played that tried and true tired old Marine tank style, this is exactly the type of thing that would happen to me all the time. just the Zerg, just with those Zerglings, and just getting you when you're either not in a good position or when you're not sieged. That was pretty much the story
Yeah,
of the game.
and so that was it. That's it for Neo Geo, and you're absolutely right. Just throwing away those units, small squads here and there, essentially losing just tons of resources by throwing away needless units, and also just out of positioning with those siege tanks. I could count a couple of times when siege tanks weren't even sieged up, and they were just overrun by the Zerglings. And yeah, that was the name of the game. Right now, it looks like Neo Geo is just dragging this out. He has 28 supply, Chipper 149. There's going to be a small squad going to go ahead and try to retake out this 1, 2, 3, 4th base, but there is a huge army going down, marching up into Neo Geo's base, and there's nothing there for defense. I would say this is it for the game. Well, that's it for this game. Neo Geo leaves. So that's it for this game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If not, leave comments down below on what I can do to make these these better for you, or as we can do to make these better for you guys. If there's a replay you guys would like for me to cast of one of your own games, upload them to one of the major replay sites. Drop.sc is very popular amongst the players, and I'll be more than happy to take care of it for you guys. Anything you would like to add before we sign off here?
No, just like that here. Both players did a great job. I don't want to sound overly critical. The Neo Geo just needs to work on just kind of massing up. He's got the stutter step micro down. He just needs to mass up and learn how to leapfrog tanks better, and he could be very successful as a Terran player. And Chipper did a great job with those surrounds, and just overall a good map presence. So good job, both players.
Now, so yeah, that was it, and we are out of here.